The Galactic Empire's high command floated in silence above a burning star. The station was massive, larger than most cities, built layer upon layer over thousands of years. Its walls were dark metal carved with symbols of victory. Every corridor told the same story. The Empire was ancient. It had existed before many stars were born. It had crushed hundreds of civilizations. It had erased entire species until only dust and warnings remained. No one ignored the Empire. Inside the high command chamber, alien leaders sat in a wide circle. Some were tall and armored. Others were thin, glowing, or mechanical. Many had ruled for centuries. All of them believed the same thing. The galaxy belonged to them. A massive hologram hovered in the center of the room. It showed star maps, trade routes, and borders marked in bright colors. Then one color changed. A quiet alert appeared. Human space. Expanded border detected. The room stirred. Several leaders leaned forward. Others made low sounds of irritation. A few laughed. Humans, one commander said with amusement. Again? The hologram zoomed in. Human territory had grown. Slowly, carefully but clearly. New systems were marked. New routes were active. The laughter faded. The Empire did not like surprises. They were warned, another leader said. Many times. Yes, said the High Commander, his voice cold and heavy. They were. Humans were discussed openly now. Too young, the record said. Too emotional. Too divided among themselves. A species that fought its own kind more than any enemy. They survived by luck, an admiral said, not strength. The High Commander raised one hand. Silence returned. Luck does not expand borders, he said. The chamber grew tense. The Empire had rules. One rule mattered most. No species expanded without permission. The High Commander turned to the communication officers. Issue a formal warning, he said. The words were calm, final. The warning was prepared carefully, using ancient language that had ended wars before they began. It was broadcast across the galaxy, to every neutral world, to every allied system, and directly to Earth. The message was clear. Withdraw your fleets, dismantle your defenses, or your species will be erased. There was no anger in the message, no threat, just certainty. The Empire waited. Across the galaxy, reactions were immediate. Neutral worlds panicked. Trade routes closed. Old alliances trembled. Everyone knew what came next. Human panic, emergency signal, military alerts, desperate talks. That was how it always happened. But minutes passed, then hours. Nothing. Human space remained quiet. No public broadcasts. No angry replies. No diplomats begging for time. The High Command watched the sensors. Human ships were still moving. Stations were active. Energy levels were stable. But something was wrong. No fleet formations detected, a sensor officer said. The room stirred again. Repeat, the High Commander ordered. The officer checked again. Human ships are active, he said slowly. But they are not forming battle lines. They are not retreating either. A low murmur spread through the chamber. That makes no sense, an admiral said. They should be afraid. Yes, another replied. Any rational species would be. The High Commander leaned back in his throne. Humans had been studied for centuries. They feared extinction. They feared loss. They feared each other. Fear was what kept them weak. Perhaps they did not receive the message, one leader suggested. It was confirmed, the communications officer said. Multiple confirmations. The chamber grew quieter. Then a junior officer spoke. He was young by Empire standards. His voice shook slightly, but he did not stop. Permission to speak, he said. Several leaders looked annoyed. The High Commander nodded once. Speak. The officer stepped forward and changed the hologram display. It zoomed deeper into human territory. Human fleets are dispersing, the officer said. Not gathering. That is retreat, someone said. No, the officer replied. Retreat would move them backward. These ships are spreading outward. The room froze. Spreading? How? The High Commander asked. Along key space routes, the officer said. Near gravity wells. Near supply paths. Silence fell like a shadow. That was not how weak species reacted. That was not how fear lurked. One commander laughed nervously. Are they trying to delay us? The officer swallowed. No, sir, he said. It looks planned. The High Commander stood, slowly. The burning star outside the station cast light across his armor. For thousands of years, he said. Every species reacted the same way to our warnings. Fear, panic, submission. He looked at the human border again, but humans did not react. The chamber felt colder. They did not argue, the High Commander continued. They did not beg. They did not threaten. The warning had been absolute, and humanity had been absolute, and humanity had answered with silence. The junior officer looked at one final sensor reading. His voice dropped. Sir, they are not preparing to fight. The High Commander turned his gaze to him. Then what are they preparing to do? The officer hesitated. Then he spoke the words that would be remembered across the galaxy. They are preparing to answer. The galaxy watched humanity in silence. From distant star systems, observers waited for chaos. That was how it always began. Panic spread fast when the Galactic Empire issued a threat. Worlds burned themselves apart before the Empire even arrived. But human space did not burn. Human cities stayed lit. Space stations remained active. Civilian traffic moved in calm, steady lines. On Earth, there were no riots, no mass evacuations, no emergency speeches filled the skies. People went to work, children went to school, ships launched on schedule. To the galaxy, this calm was disturbing. On neutral worlds, alien leaders gathered in emergency councils. They replayed the Empire's warning again and again. Withdraw your fleets, or be erased. That message had ended entire civilizations, yet humans ignored it. They must be hiding their fear, one alien diplomat said. Fear cannot hide this long, another replied. Scouts were sent closer to human borders. What they found made no sense. Human shipyards were active but not rushed. New ships were not being built in desperation. Old ships were not being scrapped. Instead, human fleets were being recalled from deep space, from forgotten patrol zones, from old war fronts that no longer mattered. But they were not gathering in one place. They were spreading out. A neutral intelligence network detected something strange. Human ships were positioning themselves near major jump points, natural space choke paths, gravity wells near dead stars. These were not defensive positions around planets. They were control points. An alien analyst stared at the data in disbelief. They are not protecting worlds, he whispered. They are protecting movement. Across the galaxy, fear began to shift. Inside the Galactic Empire's High Command, the mood had changed. No one laughed anymore. The High Commander stood before the hologram as reports continued to arrive. Human fleets were calm. Human communications were silent. Human borders were stable. They are stalling, an admiral said, though his voice lacked confidence. For what? Another asked. No one answered. A new report arrived, this one from a covert probe. The probe had entered human space undetected. It drifted quietly near a human logistics station. The footage played. Human officers moved with calm purpose. No raised voices. No panic. One human officer spoke clearly. Confirm civilian corridors are clear. Confirm. Civilian corridors are clear. Another replied, confirmed. No civilian traffic in projected zones. Projected zones. The alien listeners froze. What zones? Someone asked. The probe's feed continued. A third human voice spoke. Fleet positioning at Phase 1 complete. Phase 1. The High Commander clenched his fist. How many phases? He asked. The room stayed silent. Then another strange discovery reached the Empire. Human civilian ships were leaving core systems, but not fleeing. They were relocating calmly, orderly, protected by escorts. The Empire had seen evacuations before. This was not evacuation. This was preparation. On a distant neutral world, an old alien historian spoke to his council. I have studied human wars, he said slowly. They do not rush into battle. Then why are they not afraid? A leader asked. The historian lowered his head. Because fear is not what drives them, he said. Memory is. Inside the Empire, a junior analyst found something buried deep in old archives. Ancient records, old conflicts, wars no one remembered. Each record ended the same way. A powerful species threatened humanity. Humanity delayed. Humanity stayed silent. Then that species disappeared from history. The analyst brought the data forward. The High Commander reviewed it carefully. Coincidence, one admiral said quickly. Is it? The High Commander replied. He looked again at the human fleet movements. They were precise, measured, patient, not emotional, not chaotic. This was not the behavior of a weak species. This looks like preparation for a long engagement, the High Commander said. Not a desperate one. An officer spoke carefully. Sir, it appears humans are choosing where the war will happen. The words settled heavily in the chamber. No species had ever chosen the battlefield against the Empire. Another report arrived. Human space had sent a message. The room straightened instantly. The message was short, unencrypted, plain. It played on the central display. We acknowledge your warning. That was all. No apology, no refusal, no threat, just acknowledgement. Several leaders shouted at once. That is all? No surrender? No fear? The High Commander raised his hand. Silence returned. They heard us, he said. And they did not change course, an admiral added. Outside the High Command, the burning star flared brighter. Inside, the truth became harder to ignore. Humans were not panicking. They were not begging. They were not trying to escape. They were preparing space itself. The High Commander gave a slow, deliberate order. Advance the invasion schedule. A ripple of shock spread. Sir, an officer said, the fleet is not fully positioned. Humans are ready, the High Commander replied. We will not give them more time. As the Empire's war fleets began to move, alarms echoed across distant systems. The galaxy held its breath. Humanity had been threatened, and humanity had answered without fear. But no one yet understood what that answer would cost. The Galactic Empire's invasion fleet began to move. Across hundreds of systems, ancient engines awakened. Massive warships left their docks for the first time in decades. Their hulls were thick with armor earned through conquest. Their weapons had ended worlds. This fleet was not meant to fight. It was meant to end. The Empire did not rush. It never did. Confidence shaped every movement. Every formation was perfect. Every route calculated centuries ago. As the first wave crossed into human territory, commanders waited for resistance. There was none. No warning shots. No mines. No ambush. Human space welcomed them with silence. That is strange, an admiral muttered. They should be striking now. The fleet moved deeper. Human stars passed by. Human stations appeared on sensors. Still nothing, but something felt wrong. Navigation officers began to report small errors. Nothing serious, tiny delays in jump timing, slight course corrections required. At first, commanders ignored it. Then supply ships began to lag behind. A logistics officer spoke up. Fleet spacing is widening, sir. Fuel routes are slower than expected. How? An admiral snapped. Our calculations are perfect. Yes, sir, the officer replied. But space conditions appear altered. Altered. The word spread uneasily through the command deck. As the fleet advanced, human ships finally appeared on long-range sensors, but not where the Empire expected. They were not in front. They were not retreating. They were positioned to the sides, behind gravity wells, near unstable regions of space. Why are they there? One commander asked. Those are useless positions, another said. A human transmission arrived. Simple, clear, calm. We will not block your path. The Empire laughed. They admit weakness, an admiral said. The fleet advanced faster. That was when the first ship lost power. No explosion, no weapon impact. Its engines simply shut down. The ship drifted, silent and blind. System failure, a commander asked. Unknown, the engineer replied. All systems locked. No external damage. Then another ship slowed. Then another. Ship slowed. Then another. Communication signals weakened. Orders took longer to reach the front lines. The fleet was still massive, still dangerous, but it was no longer smooth. Increase speed, the High Commander ordered from High Command. The fleet tried. Space resisted. Gravity wells pulled harder than expected. Jump points required recalculation. Fuel consumption rose sharply. Human ships remained still, watching. Then the Empire understood. Human fleets were not attacking. They were shaping the battlefield. Human technology did not destroy ships. It changed space itself. Artificial gravity distortions. Localized interference fields. Invisible barriers that bent movement. The Empire's ships were powerful, but power meant nothing when motion failed. Deploy countermeasures. An admiral shouted. They did. Nothing changed. Human systems adapted faster than Empire systems could respond. Each adjustment made things worse. The Empire fleet slowed further. Then the human ships moved, not forward. Sideways, they closed gaps, sealed routes, cut off supply lines. Empire commanders began to shout orders over one another, regain formation, protect the carriers, restore jump capability. Too late. Human fleets never fired first. Instead, they isolated. Entire wings of Empire ships found themselves without fuel access, without communication, without escape routes. A captured Empire ship drifted helplessly. Inside, alien soldiers waited for death. It never came. A human ship approached slowly. No weapons powered. No shields raised. A message arrived. You are disabled. Power down weapons. You will not be harmed. The alien commander laughed bitterly. This is a trick, he said, but it was not. When the ship powered down, nothing happened. No boarding, no execution, just silence. Across the invasion front, the same scene repeated. Empire ships trapped, engines locked, weapons useless. Still, humanity did not attack. That terrified the galaxy more than any explosion. Inside the High Command, panic spread. This is not warfare, an admiral shouted. This is manipulation. Yes, the High Commander replied quietly, and they are better at it. Reports flooded in. Entire Empire formations neutralized. No casualties, no resistance. Humanity was not destroying the Empire. It was holding it. The High Commander stared at the map. Human ships now controlled every major movement path. The Empire fleet was inside a cage it could not see. A human message arrived, direct, calm, final. We warned you by our silence. No threat followed, no demand, just truth. For the first time in its history, the Galactic Empire understood something horrifying. Humans were not afraid of war. They were afraid of wasting it. And when they finally answered, they answered in a way the galaxy had never prepared for. The Galactic Empire did not fall into panic all at once. It happened slowly, ship by ship, system by system, thought by thought. At first, Empire commanders believed the situation was temporary. Engines would restart, navigation would recover, human interference would fail. It did not. Hours passed, then days. Empire warships drifted in controlled space, unable to move freely. Supply convoys could not reach them. Communication signals arrived late or not at all. The Empire still had weapons, but weapons were useless when you could not aim, move, or retreat. Human fleets remained calm. They did not rush. They did not celebrate. They did not threaten. They simply held position. That silence pressed harder than any attack. Inside one trapped Empire flagship, the crew waited. No alarms, no explosions, just endless stillness. An officer finally spoke. Why don't they finish us? No one answered. On another ship, an older commander studied the tactical display. They are teaching us something, he said quietly. What? A younger officer asked. The commander did not look away from the screen. What it feels like to be powerless. Across the invasion front, human ships began limited communication. Not orders, not insults. Information. They transmitted safe movement paths, emergency power instructions, medical aid offers. Empire commanders rejected them at first. Pride demanded it. But when systems failed completely, pride lost meaning. A damaged Empire cruiser accepted human assistance. Human engineers guided them step by step. No mockery, no threats, just calm voices. When the cruiser stabilized, the human ship withdrew. It did not claim victory. It did not demand surrender. It simply left. That frightened the Empire more than destruction. Inside the Galactic Empire's high command, the chamber felt smaller than before. Reports continued to arrive, not of defeat, of containment. Human fleets controlled, jump corridor, energy flow regions, supply routes. The Empire fleet could not regroup, could not strike back, could not retreat without permission. This is not a battle, an admiral said. This is a lesson. The High Commander stood silently. He had ruled wars, ended species, broken galaxies. Yet he had never seen this. Humans were not fighting to win territory. They were fighting to end a decision. A junior strategist spoke carefully. Sir, humans are not escalating. Explain, the High Commander said. They are holding exactly enough force to stop us, the strategist said. Nothing more. That truth hit harder than fear. If humans wanted destruction, the Empire fleet would already be gone. They did not want that. They wanted understanding. Elsewhere in the galaxy, observers whispered, neutral worlds watched human tactics with growing fear and respect. They could destroy them, one alien leader said. Why don't they? An old species answered, because humans remember what destruction costs. Inside a captured Empire command ship, human envoys finally arrived. They wore simple uniforms, no symbols of conquest, no trophies. Their leader spoke calmly. "You crossed our space with intent to erase us." The Empire commander glared. "You should fear us," he said. The human did not react. "We feared extinction long before we met you," the human replied. "Fear no longer controls us." The Empire commander hesitated. "What do you want?" he asked. The human paused. "Nothing," he said. "We want you to leave." "Just that?" the commander asked. "Yes," the human replied. "And to remember, back in High Command, the High Commander reviewed historical data again. Human wars, human collapses, human recoveries. Every time humans were pushed close to extinction, they adapted. They changed not by strength, but by thinking differently. "They are not stronger than us," an admiral said. "No," the High Commander replied. "They are prepared in ways we never needed to be." The Empire had grown strong through dominance. Humans had grown strong through survival. That difference mattered now. A final human message arrived, addressed to High Command itself. It was not a threat. It was not a demand. It was a statement. "We will maintain this position until your fleets withdraw. No time limit, no negotiation, just certainty." The High Commander realized something chilling. Humans were not in a hurry. They could wait days, months, years. The Empire could not. Supply chains were failing. Allied systems were questioning loyalty. Fear spread through ranks that had never known it. For the first time, Empire leaders asked the unthinkable question: what if we are wrong? The High Commander closed his eyes. The burning star outside continued its endless collapse. "Prepare withdrawal protocols," he said quietly. Gasps filled the chamber. Retreat was unheard of, but survival mattered more than pride. As Empire fleets began slow, controlled withdrawal, guided by human channels, the galaxy watched in disbelief. Human ships did not pursue, did not attack. They simply opened paths and waited. As the last Empire ship crossed out of human space, one final human message was sent, not just to the Empire, to the galaxy. "We answered your threat without fear, and this is restraint." Silence followed, and in that silence, the galaxy understood a terrifying truth. Humanity was not dangerous because it loved war. Humanity was dangerous because it knew when not to use it. The Galactic Empire withdrew its fleets in silence. No victory signals were sent. No celebration echoed through High Command. The Empire survived, but something inside it had broken. Across the galaxy, leaders struggled to understand what they had witnessed. Humanity had been threatened with extinction, and yet no planets burned, no stars exploded, no cities were erased. Still, the Empire had retreated. That frightened everyone. On a distant, neutral world, an emergency council gathered. Ancient beings, machine minds, and warlords sat together, replaying recordings from the conflict. Human ships holding space. Empire fleets trapped without destruction. Human messages calm and controlled. One leader spoke what many feared. "If they can do this to the Empire, what could they do to us?" An older alien answered quietly. "They already have." They showed restraint. Inside human space, life continued. Cities remained open. Ships returned to normal routes. People spoke of the event, but not with pride, with relief. Human leaders met privately, away from cameras and broadcasts. No one cheered. No one claimed glory. One human officer said softly, "We were close." Another nodded. Closer than the galaxy knows. They remembered Earth's past, world wars, near extinction, moments when humanity almost destroyed itself. They remembered how fear once ruled them, how panic led to cruelty, how pride led to ruin. Humanity had survived not because it was stronger, but because it learned. Deep in Empire territory, the High Commander studied old records again, this time not to judge humans, but to understand them. He saw humanity's early history, wars fought with hate, weapons built too fast, mistakes repeated again and again. Then something changed. After near destruction, humanity slowed. They argued. They failed. They learned. They stopped asking, "How do we win?" and began asking, "How do we survive what comes after?" The High Commander finally understood. Humans did not fear extinction anymore. They feared becoming the reason extinction happened. On a captured Empire vessel, now peacefully escorted home, a conversation took place. An Empire officer asked a human escort a question. "Why didn't you destroy us?" he demanded. "You could have." The human looked at the stars before answering. "Because we already know how that story ends," he said. The officer frowned. "Ends how?" "With survivors who regret winning," the human replied. That answer spread quietly through Empire ranks. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was restrained by memory. Across the galaxy, old civilizations remembered something uncomfortable. They had never nearly wiped themselves out. They had never stood on the edge of extinction by their own hand. Humans had, and they never forgot. A historian from an ancient species finally spoke publicly. "For thousands of years, we believed fear controlled humans," he said. "We were wrong." He paused. Fear taught them. In the Empire's high command, a new law was quietly drafted. It was not announced. It was not celebrated. But it was recorded. No threats would ever be issued to humanity again. Not because humanity demanded it, but because the Empire now understood the cost of forcing humans to answer. Meanwhile, humanity released a single public message to the galaxy. It was short, clear, human. "We do not seek control. We do not seek revenge. We only seek the right to exist without fear." Some worlds dismissed it as words. Others listened. Those who listened survived longer. On Earth, a child asked an old veteran a simple question. "Were you scared when the Empire threatened us?" The veteran smiled sadly. "Yes," he said, "but not of them." "Then what?" the child asked. The veteran looked up at the sky. "I was scared we would forget who we are." The galaxy slowly adjusted to a new truth. Power was not only measured in firepower. Victory was not only destruction. Sometimes the strongest response was control without cruelty. And sometimes the most terrifying thing in the universe was a species that answered threats without fear and walked away without hatred. The Galactic Empire survived that lesson. Many others would not forget it. The galaxy did not return to normal. It could not. The Galactic Empire survived, but its shadow changed shape. For the first time in known history, the Empire rewrote its own doctrines, not after defeat, but after understanding fear. Across thousands of systems, new rules were quietly added to military archives, diplomatic records, and strategic libraries. One line appeared everywhere: "Never threaten humanity." No explanation followed. None was needed. Young officers asked questions. Old commanders stayed silent. Those who had seen human space lowered their eyes and changed the subject. They remembered. They remembered fleets trapped without a single shot fired. They remembered human ships that held power and chose restraint. They remembered how close the galaxy came to something far worse than war: humanity. In neutral systems, the story spread slowly at first, not as propaganda, not as legend, as fact. Merchants spoke of human patrol routes that never interfered unless asked. Explorers spoke of human fleets that moved aside without demand. Refugees spoke of human stations that offered shelter without conditions. This confused many species. Power had always demanded obedience. Humanity demanded nothing. On Earth, leaders met one last time to review the conflict. The room was quiet. Maps showed Empire fleets fully withdrawn. Borders restored. Trade routes reopened. One official finally spoke. "They will not threaten us again." Another replied, "They will remember." That mattered more. Humanity did not celebrate victory days. No monuments were raised. No enemies were mocked. Instead, systems returned to routine. Ships resumed patrols. Life continued. That was the human answer. Far from Earth, in the Empire's high command, the High Commander stood alone before the great window. The burning star outside was dying slowly, collapsing under its own weight. Much like the old way of thinking, he replayed the final human message again. Not the public one. The private transmission sent only to High Command. It had been simple. "We defended our right to exist. Nothing more. Nothing less. No pride. No anger. Just truth." The High Commander understood something then. Humanity did not see itself as a conqueror. It did not see itself as a victim. It saw itself as a survivor. And survivors did not need permission to exist. Years passed. The galaxy adjusted. New powers rose. Old empires faded. But one thing never changed. Whenever a conflict neared human space, fleets slowed. Diplomats softened their words. Threats were replaced with questions. Humanity became the line no one crossed, not because it was violent, but because no one wanted to force it to answer again. Historians would later write, humanity did not defeat the empire. Humanity defeated an idea. The idea that fear ruled all. On a distant world, an alien child studied galactic history. He stopped at one chapter, the human incident. He asked his teacher, why didn't they fight like everyone else? The teacher paused. Because they already knew what fear does, she said, and because they knew something we didn't. What? The child asked. That the strongest answer to a threat is not always destruction. Far away, human explorers traveled beyond known space. They carried no flags of conquest, only records, only warnings meant to protect. They were welcomed cautiously, watched closely, but never threatened, because the galaxy remembered. It remembered the moment humanity stood silent while extinction was promised, and how that silence spoke louder than any weapon. In the deepest archives of the Galactic Empire, one final note was added by the High Commander himself before his retirement. It read, if humanity ever speaks with fear, we should listen. If humanity ever goes silent again, pray we never forced it. And so the warning echoed forever, not as a threat, but as wisdom passed from species to species. Do not mistake calm for weakness. Do not mistake silence for surrender. And never assume that fear rules those who have already survived extinction. Because humanity answered without fear, and the galaxy was changed by it.